We've got another job here in the shop we got to get taken care of, and it's a wiring mess. Stick around, see if we get it figured out. This is the same truck we previously added the Mob Audio sound system in. Check out the previous shop job for that install. But now we need to sort out its wiring issues, including the obvious ones like these cut wires. I like to start a new job by giving it a once-over and taking note of what we're dealing with, like 2 interior lights, a light bar, tail lights, and backup lights, another light bar, headlights, and 2 indicators. Underneath the hood looks very normal with a servo, an ESC, receiver, and a winch. Now that we know everything we're dealing with, I think I'll start with the obvious and take care of these cut wires. This is very straightforward. The only issue is to figure out which wires connect to which. And I'll start figuring that out by clipping all the zip ties so I can trace each wire back to its origin. I'm being extra careful. These wires are very thin and fragile, and I don't want to accidentally snip a wire by mistake. With the zip ties clipped, I can now start to determine which wires need to be connected to which. While tracing the wires back to their origins, I came across another interesting issue. These previously clipped wires at their plugs. I hope these don't cause issues later on. Also, I realized there was no control box in the list of items we made earlier. Luckily, I have one in a light kit I had laying around. That should work. Stop, I see you. I see you leaving that comment down below. I know it'd be way easier just to replace the whole light kit. But unfortunately, the LEDs in this light kit won't fit this application. So let's get back to the job at hand. Also, while tracing back to the origins of the cut wires, I found another issue. I found bare wire segments and just an overall spaghetti mess of wires. These wires are easily untangled, and the bare segments can also be easily repaired with a bit of heat shrink. Now back to the cut wires. With it determined which wire is which, I can start soldering them back together, starting by carefully stripping a little insulation. With the bare wire exposed, I'll tin just the ends of both clipped wires. It doesn't take much, and see those fumes? This is lead-free solder, but I still wear a respirator. Now it's just a matter of soldering the 2 wires together. I apologize for the hideous soldering iron I'm using. My expensive fancy iron fit the big one before shooting this video, so I'm having to use old reliable. With the soldering connection made, a small piece of heat shrink I had slid down the wire prior to soldering will finalize the connection. You can use a heat gun, but I find it quicker just to use the barrel of the soldering iron. I do this process to all the cut wires, and there were a lot of them. You can see them all here. With all the cut wires fixed, I want to go ahead and get a little organized and separate all the circuits, back, left, right, and front. Before I go any further, I think I'll plug in a battery and make sure those light bars work. Good, one issue I won't have to deal with. Now I'll plug all the body lights in using the instructions that came with the controller. We have a connection for front, rear, left and right, and also a 5th connection for a roof light. Our roof lights are on their own circuit, so I think I'll use this one for our interior lights. The only problem is the interior lights have the wrong style connection. No problem, I'll just use one of the connections from the light kit and replace it. Perfect, now we can plug it into the controller along with all the other body lights. Now I just need to connect the Y harnesses that came from the light kit I've been scavenging from. The split ends of the harness go to the light controller and servo, the single end to the receiver. Channel 1 on the light controller is for the servo harness, and channel 2 is for the harness connecting the ESC. And again, I make sure and connect the corresponding single ends to the receiver, channel 1 for the servo, and channel 2 for the ESC. And last, I make sure and connect the servo and the ESC to the other plugs on the split end of the Y harness. With everything plugged in, I turn on the controller, plug in a battery, and look at all those amazing lights. Well, at least the interior lights are working. So what's the problem? Well, I gave it a quick thought, so after 12 hours or so, I realized the only lights working are the ones that I changed the plug-ins on. So I thought I'd run a little test and plug one of the lights in from the light kit, and sure enough, it works. Must be the plugs with all those clipped wires we saw before causing the issues. Simple solution. I replace all the plugs. Now when I plug in the battery, we have lights. Well, almost. One of the front indicators isn't working. Quick application of the wiggle test proves it's not the LED, but the connection. Which means the soldering iron came back out, and voila, a new soldered connection fixed the problem. I tidied up the wiring, trying to keep each circuit organized, added the mob audio unit, and reinstalled the receiver, winch controller, and ESC. I attached the Y harnesses and popped the body back on just to make sure everything is still good. The tail lights are a little obscured by the gas cans in the back, but everything seems to be working, including the interior lights. That's another shop job done. Wiring can be tedious and a pain, so just stay calm, take your time. Who am I kidding? Just go buy a new light kit and do it the right way. See you next time. Bye-bye.